Poppy Works here, coming to you once again with One Piece 1128 entitled RPG. So, we are here. Finally, after a long week break, we have a big old issue in Jump, in which Luffy's on the front of Jump, and it's quite gorgeous. The painting on this is magnificent. Oh my god. It's just, wow. Dripped out in pirate garb once again, having the straw hat, and it's watercolor painted. Very nice, very cool. And we also get a color spread, and once again Jinbei is in the back because this is styled after Harry Potter, and the crew are flying on brooms. Frankie and Nami having this big souped up broom. I love the development of their relationship. I think that's great because it kind of started in Wano, where she started to see him as a big brother, so that's cool. And then we have a giant dragon, whom is purple. Now, this dragon looks like a dragon number 13 from Punk Hazard, so it's very interesting that we're seeing this type of dragon in a color spread. I'm just saying, that's still on the table for Monkey D. Dragon being a dragon. I did a video on that. So, we'll see what the nature of that is. But I want to point out, these Straw Hats are wearing uniforms very similar to Harry Potter, but their ties and their undergarments, it looks like, some of them, because the girls have skirts related to their ties, and the backs of the capes also relate to their colors. They're all the personal Straw Hat colors, because we have Robin in purple, Sanji in blue, Frankie in cyan, Nami in orange, Usopp in yellow, Luffy in red, of course, Chopper in pink, Brook in gray, which is funny because his colors are white and black. So yeah, like I've said many times, for him, they usually choose purple or gray. Makes sense. Zoro way in the back with green, and Jinbei's the only one not wearing a tie. And he, of course, is in the back as well, like he always is, because Oda does not like drawing him for these things. I don't know what it is. You think I'm fooling you. He is always really out of the way when it comes to these color spreads. And I think the only time in which he was front and center is when he was naked and just had, like, I guess undergarments or like a kilt on, but his upper body was exposed. It was one of those beach ones, and we got to see his full upper half for the first time. But yeah, he is never ever drawn in these things, like in full showing, wearing the outfit of the theme or whatever. It's very weird. It's very weird because it always happens. And right now, he's not even wearing a tie like the rest of them. Why is this joke of him being a Jinbei, wearing a Jinbei so important? You know? Because that's the only joke he's got. It's really weird. But anyway, moving on with the chapter. I can't get over that because it keeps happening. It keeps happening. And people think I'm crazy. It keeps happening. Why? Why could he wear a dress shirt like the rest of the crew? Because of the joke. That's so lame, bro. I'm sorry. Because the rest of this is simply amazing. And I love how the brooms are made out of bamboo. That's cool. It's way more textured than just making them simple wooden brooms. I like that a lot. But man, I can't get over that. And he's just a doodle in the back. Why does he not want to draw this character? I think because it's too much work. I honestly think that. I think it's because it's too much work to depict him all the time. And I'm like, okay, if that's too much work, why do you depict him in this manner? You can draw him however you want, but no, he's keeping eternal consistency with this joke. It's so weird. But yeah, moving on with the chapter for real though. Chapter 1128 is called RPG, like a video game. Even though we're in a playset, it seems Sanji is carrying Nami. The crew are trying to find out the nature of this place. Luffy's a little disappointed because he thinks that Usopp could have took out that cat lion thing, but Usopp actually woke up in its mouth. And they're also wondering the nature of their outfits, because it's weird that they're dressed up in Elbathian garb, but it's human sized. And then we get this guy approaching on this grasshopper motorbike. When I saw this, it brought me immediately back to Strong World, because I remember Frankie riding one of these, and it was really cool. The tattoo on this guy is really interesting. We don't get a name for him though. Kind of looks like a crab, but it does continue up into his arm from his belly, so I'm not really sure. And they keep mentioning this sun deity. I also find it very funny. Both Sanji and Nami are afraid of the grasshopper bite because they don't like bugs. I love that there is so much like old school character in this chapter. There's a lot of that. That's what makes this chapter great. There's so many return to form of old gags that we have not seen in what seems like a decade. Oh, I think Elbath is going to be great. Elbath is going to be what we want it to be, or at least what I want it to be. But yeah, they keep mentioning this sun deity person, and then they bring up how they've done away with the various animals and the big Stein castle and then the big rabbit before, because they too are referred to as deities, because they mention a needle deity, an ear deity, which is the rabbit, and then the what is it called, the cat? The cat's name is Cat. We'll have to do another video about that later. But the cat is important in this arc, which is interesting. Yeah, all the big animals are referred to as deities. And the guy that we're talking to is human size, so that's interesting. Probably because we are in like a big diorama, as we find out later. And apparently the deity animals protect the town, which, to be honest with you, it just seems like a big pet enclosure from what we found out later. And then the old guy talks about adventure and venturing beyond the temple of the sun deity. Luffy gets excited and he rushes off to find it, which is amazing. Simply amazing. A return form. Nami apologizes, which makes the old man blush. Zoro gets excited about the idea of there being more giant animals to beat up, and Sanji berates him because he says you and Luffy just enable each other at this point, which is very funny because Sanji, where have you been? And also, again, we're back to character. We're back to character interactions. I don't think we got any of this in Egghead. I mean, a little between Luffy and Zoro, but it just seems more organic here. I don't know what it is. And the old man discovers that the castle has been pretty much destroyed, which is funny. But yeah, Luffy is rushing off to seek adventure. And they look like they're running down... I want to make the joke that's a yellow brick road, but I'm not sure. It is a road made of Lego blocks, though. And that's when Luffy runs into the mirror that creates the fake sky that's surrounding this place. Breaks right on through it, head first. And that's when we see that this entire place truly is like a big pet enclosure. It's a big diorama, because they break into a workshop of sorts where there's a giant sewing machine and a bunch of Lego blocks. And that's where you find Chopper. Yeah. Nami embraces Chopper, who she then says she's owed for the hug. I'm telling you, brother, we're so back with the gags. We're so back. Oh, this is such a breath of fresh air. I love this. Usopp's examining the clothes that have been made for them because they're all human size. And that's when he turns to Nami and says, "That's cold. You were scared earlier too," because Chopper is frightened by the goings on that have happened recently. But yeah, it's like the clothes were made as if you were making clothes for dolls. So this looks like a big LARP room. Kind of like a hobby room that you have in your house. I like it. You know, it reminds me too, like those big Calico Critter play sets that you can buy with the animals that are made of like plastic felt, I believe. It's kind of like that. It reminds me of that. And I've said this. I give myself credit because a lot of people were saying this too. So credit to everyone and also credit to me, because I said this was a big play set when I covered chapter 1126. So you know what? Credit all around. Good call, everybody. And that's what they discovered. Yet, like, yeah, the mirror surrounding the playset is, I guess, transparent. I don't get this part of the chapter, honestly, because like they say it's transparent because they can see the fake Yggdrasil tree through the glass they broke. And I guess there's a joke here too about Sanji installing this in the ladies' room at the ship and Nami kicks her for it. Again, return to gags. I have not seen Nami kick Sanji in so long. Like, when is the last time that happened? I don't even remember. Oh my goodness. It might have happened at Egghead, but I can't recall. Yeah, and that's what Zoro says. Is this some sort of sick hobby? Yeah, this is a big hobby room. Also, I forgot to mention that Sanji mentions that he can't sense Robin anywhere. So the Lady Radar is a real power. And I also forgot to mention that Nami says that she can't sense any wind, which is eerie. So both very interesting atmospheric powers are on display here. Nami's ability to sense the weather is on display, and Santi's Lady Radar is once again referred to as a real ability. That's not a gag. That's a real thing. That's crazy. But moving on. And that's when they encounter this huge snake. And now this is weird too, because they encounter this snake wearing a helmet similar to Dory, right? They encounter mice. They encounter a bird wearing a skull helm, which is pretty sick actually, because it's a big crow. And that's when we see the first glimpse of the person who owns this place. And they live in this huge house. So yeah, this is most likely a big hobby room for them. And they're wearing heels. Heels similar to Nami, with the upper part of the boot being fur. This makes me think this is a girl's playset. And our sun deity person, whom this seems to be, is a girl. I think so. And they're wearing a deer skull for a helmet with a shield on their back, and they're carrying a staff that looks like a sun, but it kind of looks like the flag that we were talking about earlier. So, I think the sun deity is just a nickname for this person because they are technically a deity to the people inside the playset. I love how they're drawn too. People were saying, which I don't think this is the case, people were saying that way back in the Kuma flashback, there was a person wearing a cow skull who was a part of the Holy Knights with Thiggle and Garland, right? And there was another random woman in armor. I don't think this relates to that at all. It does not. It's just most likely a young woman with her Elbathian playset, and she's playing dress up because she's probably like a dungeon master of sorts, and she likes to role play with all her little people that she's captured, which is why the chapter is called RPG. Role-playing game. And yeah, they finally come to their playroom, their hobby room, and it's up in flames, and Luffy has gone gear 5th. See, that's the weird part. That's the weird part I was getting to, though. He goes into gear 5th. Now, remember when the confrontation popped off against the Seraphim, I recall, he went gear 4th, and then he went gear 4th against Kizaru. He did go gear 5th against Lucy, though. That was cool. But I think that's only because Lucy asked about it. But it's weird here. He goes immediately into gear 5th. And it looks like the cape remains. But yeah, his clothes changed back to how they were originally. But it looks like he's still wearing the Viking cape from earlier. So that's weird that that didn't change. But everything else changed. That's kind of weird. Because then Luffy winds up for a Gum Gum Booming Dome pistol and punches the snake. Which I think he punches right through the snake, or the snake becomes rubber as he's punching it. It's kind of hard to tell here. And the snake's name appears to be Halamungar. I cannot pronounce that, I'm sorry. Halamungar. And that's when we see the crew escaping. Chopper's at walk point. First, we see that. They find the lion cat from earlier. And as the sun deity is encroaching upon them. And we find that their shield also has a sun on it, the same sun that's on their staff. And here we see the return to another gag. We see Chopper communicating with the cat. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Giving me Crab from Alabasta vibes. Kind of like how back in the last chapter, them beating up the giant cat gave me, and a lot of people, Salamander from Alabasta vibes. Very cool. Big return to form. Love it. Also, Nami has nabbed a map of the whole diorama world. Thank you. Gag after classic. Gag after classic. Gag. I love. We got Nami stealing. We got Chopper talking to animals. That's a power we have not seen. I don't think we've seen that in like years. Like actual years. Oh my goodness. That's why I'm saying this is a great chapter, because we're returning to form from all these traits which seem to be like lost over the lore arc after lore arc we've had. I don't know why that has occurred, but I'm glad we're back in fighting shape now. This is amazing. Chopper talking to an animal has not occurred for years. Yes, very good. So yeah, their plan now is to ride the giant lion cat to the other side of the diorama. Which, yeah, I wonder where that leads. It may just lead to a window. They may just break out into the country proper. because we don't see the rest of the crew this chapter, nor do we see the Sunny. So we have to find all of that later. Yeah, where is the Sunny at? I bet you the Sunny is like in a toy chest or something. I want to bet. Yeah, it probably is like in a toy chest or something silly. I can't wait to see that though. That's gonna be great. But yeah, no break next week. And I'm putting big money on the Sun Deity person being a woman. I think that's probably going to be the case. And how are they? That's what's weird too. How are they chasing them through the playset? Then again, too, the diorama has a door on it. So maybe, yeah, maybe they can actually fit through the door. The door is big enough for them to go through, which is weird. The scale is wacky. I'm not sure how big this person is. It's hard to tell because this person could be the size of an ancient giant. Because, I mean, there hasn't been too much size differentiation between normal giants. Then again, too, we have never seen an ancient giant and a regular giant mixed together. So they could be a past breed of one of those. That's a possibility. So, yeah, excellent chapter. I love that we returned to a bunch of old gags. Super cool, super good. Also, what's weird is that the straw has know where plastic is. Because that comes up when talking about the Lego blocks in this chapter, which is weird. But anyway, with that being said, give me your thoughts. No break next week. And tell your friends about Paula P. What's it?